Hey guys, how's it going? Philip with Trade Genius, and in this video, basically, I want to cover Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum. I'll throw an alt in there that I think is going to have a chance to pop here, and I'll tell you why. And also, wanted to show you guys an indicator that we have that we developed here at Trade Genius. We used it a lot on the use it a lot on the futures side and stocks, but because we developed it on a stock and futures trading platform, we couldn't use it like in TradingView, which is what we use to chart cryptos. However, now that we have the Bitcoin futures, we can apply that to the Bitcoin futures, and as I'm going to show you guys, the Bitcoin futures are pretty much mimicking the underlying Bitcoin now, now that it's kind of settled in. And so I'm going to show you how that kind of works. And anyway, so we'll get into that. Real quick though, before we do, and I know I don't usually promote this, but it is our specials are running out at the end of tonight, midnight on the 15th. So just real quickly, guys, if you go to tradegeniusacademy.com, the link is below. These are half off, and this one will get you the room for a year and the signals. And if you want the software, that one there, again, these are half off, and they'll be going back up. And so just wanted to let you guys know that. All right, so all right, enough of that. Let's go take a look at some charts. Now Bitcoin is going into another up move, and this is the 4-hour chart. Now the other day what we had was, I call the Great Confluence, and what that is we have the daily stocks in a down cycle, and then over here on the 4-hour our stock was in a down cycle here, and also here on the hourly, we were on a down cycle. So when we see these line up, these can produce huge moves to the upside. Now you couple that with the fact that we're swinging back into the weekend, and we've got the CME futures coming up. It's a potentially really bullish move to where we might see new highs as early as Sunday. The last reaction on the futures on the CBOE we had after we had pulled back, we kind of pulled back into that futures debut, and then just really popped off of that. So this is when the futures opened in here, and then we had this big rally up, down, and up, and we topped out at what do we got here? 18,150 basically, and then we pulled back. Now we're kind of moving back up on some pretty decent volume. That's a good volume bar right there for the 4-hour. So we'll see how this progresses into the weekend, but to me this is all signs show that we're going to head toward these fib targets. Now we did settle back into this price channel, so it'll be interesting to see if we can press out of that, ultimately tagging this all-time high on GDAX, which is higher than everybody else, because I think a lot of that had to do with just supply just getting smashed. So we did have kind of an overthrow move, if you will, to 19,697. So that's going to be kind of in the crosshairs for this next move up. And then if we look higher on some of the higher fib targets, we're looking into the 23,000 level. And that falls in line with kind of that parabolic curve that we have, which I can show you guys. Let me bring up another layout here. Okay, so this is the one I wanted to show you guys. And so this week the limit of that curve was 24,000. So at this point, unless we just had a raging weekend into Sunday, or Sunday just really peaked out, we're going to print a new bar around 7 p.m. Eastern. So that's going to give us an upper. Now we're going to start seeing upper limits farther away. So we'll see what happens and see how we grow into this curve. But this curve has been holding true for a really long time, and all the price action has been leading toward a very, very parabolic final move up. So pretty exciting. All right, so that's Bitcoin. We can take a look at Ethereum. So Ethereum Okay, so that popped up too, along with Litecoin. It too has a parabolic arc that it pretty much ran into. This is the weekly on Ethereum, and you can see great volume right here, awesome volume. Like that, that's beautiful. So basically, what we're looking at here. So again, the weekly will print another bar on Sunday, and then this is going to actually give this thing a whole ton of room. We'll modify this a little bit to take into account, but this is gonna, that would open up for a parabolic move up into the $1,000 range. Now, whether or not we see that's a whole nother story, because we're not seeing everything rise with Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin looks like it's revving up, we could stay under pressure on these other plays for a bit. So just keep that in mind until like I see, like for Ethereum, for example, until we see like this downtrend kind of terminate. This is better if we look on an hourly chart. So this is what we call bull flag, right? Bull flag is basically like this would be your flag post, and then this is your flag. And then what typically happens, not 100% of the time, but typically on these formations, it does end up breaking the downtrend, and then it moves higher. Okay, sometimes what will happen is it'll break out of the downtrend, retest the downtrend, and then break higher. Okay, so basically we could see this move down into this bifib zone. It got close here and then it bounced pretty good, but it could come down into here. The only thing in here is that we've got this volume gap, and typically when you see that, you might not really see support until down here, which would breach briefly this zone. I don't really consider these zones broken unless you get a nice close below it, or if you just close or dip below it but then close back above it, like say on a 4-hour. I don't really consider that a breach per se, or broken, where I would say, okay, that one's toast. And so just keep that in mind. But you could see down to this 540 level on a retrace. That's not entirely out of the question. As far as the technicals go, hourly is looking, hourly on both RSI and the Stoke is actually looking pretty bullish. And when Stoke gets down into these ranges, as you can see, can provide a pretty big move. So especially on an uptrend, and this is retracing nicely. So this would be part of like, you know, basically moves go ABC or 1, 2, 3. So this would be like 1, 2, and then 3. You're looking higher, and if that does happen, you're looking at the fib target up in here at 872. So it'll be interesting. It would be really cool if this stuff happened where when Bitcoin, let's say Bitcoin runs up into the weekend, this continues to fall down into here, and then Bitcoin takes a break and these go up. That's when swing trading the alts is really good, because ultimately at the end of the day, it's really about your value in Bitcoin versus how much USD you're trading in. Because if you can build up your Bitcoin core, then you're really, you know, that's really key, because that has the most potential for the upside long term. So that's basically what we're looking at Ethereum. It really comes down to breaking this downtrend, and then if we did on a retest again, that would be a great entry, and then higher. But I think I think there's some down pressure until Bitcoin pops, but we'll see how that plays out. That's just kind of the read at the moment. Okay, let's take a look at Litecoin now. Litecoin, you know, I did that video the other day. I said, does history repeat? And you know, that was just to emphasize that when you have a large move up, you know, it can take a breather. This one's taking a pretty decent breather. Now we are getting into some fib zones that are, you know, considered buy zones. The one thing you guys have to consider is that, you know, for the most of its life, it's spent time down in this area, down under 100. So that's where you got a lot of your volume buildup. And then it's spent, like, you know, let's just say about a week or so. Actually, not even that. Maybe just 4 or 5 days. Actually, not even that, guys. It's probably more like 3 days in this range here. And then it just shot up. So you can see relatively there's not a lot of volume support anywhere in here. So this could fall back down to these levels. I think somebody was saying, no way it's going to go back to $150, but actually that it could. Maybe it's going to be more like Because what you have to understand too is like this consolidated in here, so this price range in here is kind of like a magnet, but it could be anywhere from 170, let's say, to 150 would probably be realistic if we broke down. Now, the one thing this does have going for it is that it is in a descending, what we call a descending wedge. So we have a wedge shape formation that's descending or going down, pointing down. Those tend to be bullish, and the way those play out is this will consolidate, get tighter, and then pop up again, pull back to it, and then higher would be like a very textbook play. And if you were looking to trade a swing, you would target probably this bear fib zone, because bears are going to be in control until 355. If it does pop above that, then you'd be looking to buy another pullback. Ultimately, these fib zones have targets of 487 and 496, or just about $500. So that's Litecoin's current state. Again, this could stay down if Bitcoin continues to swing up into Sunday. And if we get a pop into Sunday, Monday, I'd just be looking at Bitcoin to kind of dictate the flow of these things, because that's generally what's happening. All right, now, before we get into the new Bitcoin indicator I was showing you guys, which is based on the futures, I kind of did want to go over Iota real quick. And the reason is that we've had this nice run up, and then we've pulled back. Generally on a big pop like that, I'd start looking for buys in here in these buy zones, and we've had a lot of volume that came in on this run up, a lot bigger than anything that we've seen previous. All the volume was down into here, but this is a tremendous amount of volume relative to what we've seen. So a lot of buying came into there. Now again, if we zoom out, there's not a lot of price history on Iota. This is on Bitfinex. So you can see a majority of the support is going to be down at, once you start getting into the 150,000 Satoshi, or 0.00015 Bitcoin, you'll start seeing, I would expect to see price hold above that. So we may break down through that buy fib zone. That's possible, but as you can see, when you get down into it, this buy fib zone, it does, price tends to respect it. And right now we're kind of in between, because we ran up, right? Ran up, came back down to this fib zone, bounced back up. Now this bear zone is a retrace of this move down. Okay, so this move down. Oops, sorry about that. This move down. This is the fib bear zone. So shorts are in control from here, from this level down. So now if that plays out, this bottoms out here at 12,441. And so that's still in play. But sometimes when you get caught between these fib zones, it'll bounce a little bit. Again, if Bitcoin is continuing to move up, then Iota would be under pressure. But I think if Bitcoin finishes that move and then takes a break or consolidates, you can see this pop. One thing Iota has for it, it looks pretty apparent based on some things that it's going to be coming to Bittrex soon. And generally when an exchange lists a coin, there's a pretty good pop. So all I'm saying is keep an eye on that. Iota is a daily buy on the stochastic. And if we look on the other time frames, it's bottoming out on the 4-hour and is a little toppy on the hourly. So you could wait for that to roll over, although we do have a long signal firing on the hourly. So anyway, that's just kind of a snapshot of Iota. But I thought since looks like Bittrex is getting ready to list it, I would mention that. And technically it was setting up to be a buy. Okay, now let's look at the Bitcoin future versus the Bitcoin chart. So now that the prices have settled in, I'm going to compare this to a 15-minute chart. All right, so if I toggle back and forth, if you look at the way the charts are, not so much in this area here, but if you look where this starts to dip, they're pretty similar. You see that? All right, so this is our magic channel. And so basically, it's very simple, guys. If it heads toward the top of the channel, that's a fade. And if it touches the bottom of the channel, we're looking for buys. And if we have volume on that, then that's even better, because that shows that there's some buyers or sellers coming in on those moves. So again, right now we're heading into the top of the channel. If the price but we don't see the volume yet, but if price tends to rub up against the channel and stay up there and doesn't react right away, the channel will adjust and that'll grow. So this is a dynamic channel. It is constantly monitoring the price range. So this, you can think of this as a relative range that you would look for a turn. And so it uses the price calculation, and it's all about the relative range of the price. So really useful. We've used it with a lot of success in other futures markets and also stocks. So this is the first time we were able to see it on Bitcoin price action, because it's really only available on the Thinkorswim platform currently. And we will probably turn this indicator loose, but I want to see it, give it a little more time, and then I also want to see it with the CME futures as well. But so far it's looking about what I expect. So it could provide a lot of swing opportunities on Bitcoin on the 15-minute time frame. So pretty cool. So wanted to run that by you guys and show you that this would be coming out at a later date as we monitor it. That's pretty much it. Like I said, Bitcoin's looking pretty bullish at this point, and I think we gotta on the alts, I think those will continue for the most part. If you look across the board, alts will stay down until Bitcoin resolves this. You can see pretty well here on the hourly, or the daily I should say, that we're consolidating. I saw some questions on the questions below the video. People are like, what's consolidating? Basically what that means is your price is not making any new highs, not making any new lows, but kind of going sideways. So you get into like these patterns, right? So this pattern here, it's almost like a pennant, right? Pennants, and sometimes there'll be triangles, but that's a consolidation pattern. And Bitcoin's been doing a lot of that. It's probably more apparent on the 4-hour, but you'll see where, you know, it's kind of like it'll move up and then consolidate. So that's a consolidation. Basically, it's just when you have an area where, if you can draw like a pennant or a triangle on the price action, that's consolidating. Maybe that's not so apparent there, but on the hourly, you know, you could see where, yeah, here, I'll show you guys. So this would be considered consolidating right in here. So this whole action in here, that's consolidating. And when Bitcoin moves up and then consolidates, chances are, high likelihood, it moves higher. And so that's kind of what we're seeing now. So I just wanted to clarify that. Saw that question, what's consolidation? And that's what it is. Price consolidates. Usually that's after a fairly good sized move. Price finds equilibrium between the buyers and sellers, and eventually one side wins out and you get another rush of buying or selling. All right, guys, thanks for watching. If this really helps you guys, please hit the subscribe button and the likes, and we'll keep these coming. It helps us keep them coming every day. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. I will do a video on Sunday about the futures, and like I did last week, I'm going to break down the CME futures as far as the product or the contract details as far as what's involved with those, and we'll go over that on Sunday right before they open. All right, guys, thanks again. Have a good weekend. Take care. Bye.